What's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast weekly real estate tip. And today I'm here to talk to you about unique selling propositions, which are how to differentiate yourself, how to differentiate you from all the other realtors or team leaders or other brokerage owners in your market. So what we're going to break down today, it doesn't matter if you're an individual agent, team leader, or broker owner. I know we have a mix of you that are watching and listening to this podcast. So this is going to apply to all of us, because it's really a really crucial, critical thing when it comes to going out there and winning more business. You got to be almost obsessed with what differentiates me from everybody else out there. So we're going to do a deep dive in this today. Now, a lot of the examples I'm going to give here for this podcast are going to be more around for that real estate agent that's out there trying to work with buyers, sellers, traditional real estate business, right? But again, this all applies, and this strategy applies. I'm going to walk through whether you're a team leader, brokerage owner, or an individual agent. At the end of the day, it's all sales. It's all recruiting, right? You're either recruiting buyers, recruiting sellers, you're recruiting agents, or you're recruiting your leadership team to do those things for you. All ends up really being the same overall process. So this applies to all of us. Now, let's first talk about why this is so important. Being able to have that ability to stand out and asking yourself, again, what differentiates you? We're in a saturated space. We're in a saturated industry. We all get that. We all understand that. In my market here in Phoenix, Arizona, there's like 60,000 agents, licensed agents, just in my market alone. There's been a little bit of a drop off with the market changes. However, so it might be a little bit lower than that if you're trying to fact check me as of, here in February 2023. But anyway, it's a shit ton. It is a lot, right? So let's just say it's 60,000. Well, then I always have to ask myself, okay, what am I then doing to differentiate myself from the other 59,999? Now, of course, there's going to be a percentage of those that are just bad agents that don't work hard, that are not committed, and so forth. But however, as much as we might like to think that we are so great at what we do, there's a lot of other great professionals out there too. So in maybe that's 20%, 30%, whatever that percentage is, again, they're not all bad. They're right, like there's going to be some good competitors that you have in your market. So then taking that a layer further of, okay, what is that unique differentiator that is going to get people to choose me? What is going to get people to choose me versus my competitors? So this is what really honing in your ability to be able to set and adopt unique selling propositions and being able to communicate that, to the general public. So whether that be to, potential buyers, potential sellers, again, potential agent recruits or whatever, your ability to communicate that is going to massively enhance your marketing, your prospecting, your overall lead conversion, client conversions, and so forth. All right. So, I think we all can at this point grasp and understand the importance of unique selling propositions. Again, this is just why you. Why should I choose you? If you're watching or listening to this right now, like why? And just again, thinking about this for your own business. If you had a client right now that was just asking you this question right now, like, why would I choose you versus everybody else in your market? Like, what do you got? What do you got on everybody else? Another way of thinking this is like, okay, we all get inundated with, let's just say, lenders or title company reps or whatever reaching out to us. I hear common things like, oh, well, we get loans done on time. We do a good job, give us a chance. It's like, okay, like what you're telling me is you do what everybody else does. You're just saying that you do those things good, which is what you should be doing. So you're just telling me that you just do your job. Like, what else do you got? What differentiates you versus the other lenders in my market? Like we're looking at that for those that we choose to do business with. So, we got to then, reverse that and have that same thought process, for customers that are choosing us, right? Okay, so then when I'm talking about USPs, unique selling propositions, also referred to as USVs, unique selling, value propositions, or not UVPs, unique value propositions. I always call them USPs, so it's same damn thing. Just what is that differentiator, right? But when I'm, doing a class on this or online training or whatever, question I always get is like, well, what are the best ones that you've historically used? Now, the best ones that I've historically used or that I have used, currently use, and will use in the future are those that have adapted with the times that we are in, that solve very specific and unique problems that my potential clients are facing in that given market that we are in. So I'm going to walk you guys through this process here today. I'll give you some kind of basic ones and some generic ones, and those are okay. I mean, those might be, a little bit better than not having them, but again, they're not the best. The best are going to be the ones that solve your ideal clients or whatever, within your niche, those ideal clients based on that given market, their current biggest problems, their current biggest obstacles that they are having at that given time, right? Those are the ones that are most effective. And that's what I really want you to, understand. We're going to walk you through this here today on how to go out there and set these and do these. And I'll just walk you through my process, with this. But the more powerful that you can hone this in, man, the more you're going to go out, business that you're going to go out there and create, right? And be able to generate in any given market, right? Like these things, because you got to be able to read markets. You got to be able to adapt. These markets are always shifting, always changing. Things are changing. Whether it's a buyer's market, seller's market, whatever it may be, you need to learn how to be able to identify these. But all we're doing at the end of the day, when you look at this, and now I'm going to talk about, for going after buyers and sellers here. At the end of the day, they're already sold on real estate. So we're not having to necessarily sell them on real estate itself. They're already sold on real estate, right? What we are selling, what we are doing is we are articulating that we are the best guide to get them from their current living situation to the living situation that they want to get to. So we're the best guide to get them from point A to point B. Okay, so they're here's their current living situation. Here's the living situation they want to get to. Well, then, bam! All of a sudden, there becomes this wall that gets raised, where all of a sudden it just blocks them. And I'm trying to explain this versus just do visual hand motions here, because I know a lot of you are listening to this on iTunes and Google Podcasts. Most of you listen, get a lot more downloads on the audio versus on YouTube. But just think of that. Okay, if I'm guiding somebody from you got this point over here A to point B that I got to bring them to, right? And we're just guiding them from one point to the next point. Well, then they got this roadblock, right? Like, what is that roadblock? What is prohibiting them? So these are people that may want to buy, may want to sell. What is that thing based on that given moment, the given market, the given obstacles that they're facing that is prohibiting them from moving forward? That if you could then remove that roadblock, right, that then they would move forward with that. And this is one of the reasons, why I personally love getting objections. When we're doing our lead follow, I know a lot of those in this industry, kind of cringe about objections or, get fearful of, if I get hit with these objections, like learn to love these, you guys, like learn to love objections, because what objections are telling you is that's the consumer telling you what those roadblocks are, right? So then from there, it's like, okay, when I start getting these, I start hearing common objections over and over and over, like one today might be interest rates, right? From buyer side, okay, well, yeah, I would love to buy today, but interest rates are so high. Okay, well, boom, that's an objection. That's a roadblock, right? Okay, let me go out there and figure out a way to solve that problem. That becomes my unique selling proposition. That's what it differentiates me, because now I solve that unique problem for those in that given market that others can't solve. If you're a team leader, broker owner, and we're talking about recruiting agents, right? Okay, well, what is our job at the end of the day? Okay, well, it's our job to go out there and facilitate an environment that agents can go from where they're currently at to making their goals a reality. We're here to facilitate an environment, facilitate an experience where they can do that in the quickest, most effective, and most profitable way possible. Okay, well, what are their roadblocks? That's getting them from where they're at to where they want to go, right? Let me figure what those are out, and then I can go out there and articulate, right? Because whoever can articulate that they are the best guide for the job, that has we're the best guides to get people from where they're at to where it is that they want to go. Whoever can articulate that in the best and most highest level, at the highest fashion, is going to win when it comes to your marketing, whether it be with your marketing, your prospecting, whether it be with your follow-up communication, and so forth. Whoever can communicate that in the best and most believable way to the consumer is going to go out there and be the most victorious with this. All right, so just some universal USPs that you'll probably hear a lot of, maybe that you've heard a lot of, and I don't want to discount these, because these can be good and they can be effective in some of these that I do use. So I'll share some of these common ones with you guys. There's just a few of these to give you some examples of these different USPs that you probably heard before. But then what I really want you to be able to do is be able to go out there and think deeper than this. Right? Not just use kind of standard ones that a lot of others are using, or that might be commonplace in the industry, but really honing those in for your given niche, for your given market, and what's going on with it. So, common ones, let's just say on the buy side, right? Like a love it or leave it buyer guarantee. So this is where a lot of, whether it's agents, typically we see these more in teams, right, where they're set different guarantees inside their business. Well, those guarantees are different, unique selling propositions. So like a love it or leave it buyer guarantee, so how that typically works is something like, okay, if I'll represent you, go out there and buy your home, get into your home. If you don't love the home, And let's just say, and there's usually a time frame, with these different, guarantees, usually there's some fine print on there, but it'd be something similar to like, okay, if you decide that you don't love the home and you end up selling it within the first 6 months after moving in, I'll sell it for you for free, like waive your portion of the commission as far as the listing agent, still, have to pay the co-broke buyer agent, that might be something like a love it or leave it guarantee, which just makes the buyers at more peace that maybe they, to help ensure them, that might be a differentiator to help ensure them that they, remove that fear of buyer's remorse, right? Okay, like common ones on the listing side, your home sold or I buy it. Your home sold in X amount of days, guaranteed, or I pay you X amount of dollars. Your home sold in X amount of time frame, or I will sell it for free. All these are different guarantees I've used over the years, and they can be very effective, and I've had them be very effective, but they're not nearly as effective as what we're about to talk about. One that I've utilized for a long time. I'll share two of them with you that I've used for a long time that are kind of universal, that apply for any given market, but my one-day listing agreement. Right. So I have a one-day listing agreement. And why did I institute that? Is because I kept reading from NAR that the number one fear that home sellers have is deciding to sell their home, list with an agent, and get locked into a long-term contract with an agent that overpromises and underdelivers. So I'm like, okay, let me just remove that. Yeah, right. And it's pretty, it's pretty big. It's just a fire me guarantee. That's all that is. So it just ensures them, and that, removes that block from them to choose me over somebody else, right. Of the fact that they're not stuck. Hey, if you feel that you made a mistake by choosing me as your realtor versus somebody else, okay, you're not locked into a 6-month contract, right. Like you can fire me anytime. We have a one-day listing agreement, so it can just kind of, appease the seller's mind and so forth. Now this one isn't like a guarantee that we, necessarily off. It's not something in writing, but inside of our organization, one of our USPs is we have a very strict absolute no pressure policy. And I actually have this in any and all of my businesses, because I know that people hate being sold. People hate being pushed. They hate being pressured. So, with our leads, with any marketing that we do, whatever it may be, we're always putting out there in verbiage where it's boom, bold print, people's face, they can see it. Well, we have a very strict, absolute no pressure policy. So you never have to worry about being pushed, pressured, sold anything. Look, we are here to just help answer all of your questions, give you all the information that you need to make the best decision for yourself and for your family. You never have to worry about being pushed, pressured, whatever. So that helps us go out there and set a lot more appointments, makes people feel more comfortable with those appointments. Because like a lot of people want information, right? It's like we want information. We want the information that we want, that we need to go out there and make those decisions, but we don't want to be sold. We don't want to be pushed into a high pressure environment, so that's one that I've used for years and has been a big game changer for me, on all fronts of my business. So, those are coming, like the one-day listing agreement and the zero pressure policy. Those are kind of universal, unique selling propositions that I've had for, a decade plus now in my real estate business, that have been very effective. And again, those are kind of more of the like basic universal. They're always there. They always exist. And again, these can be good. They can be effective. But what I find to be by far the most powerful is again, solving that specific problem based on the given market and the given environment that you were in. Look, the real estate market's always shifting. It's always changing. There's no such thing. I know that for a lot of you, maybe you don't know this, right? Or no, I know that you know this, but maybe you haven't experienced this yet. Depending on where you're at right now, what's going on in the real estate market right now here nationally is, because real estate's hyper local, it's very regional right now. So you got pockets in the Midwest, pockets in the Northeast where it's still crazy, still a seller's market, still low inventory. And then you got markets, in other markets where, it's flipped. It's a buyer's market, and so forth. So, markets could be shifting. I mean, 2 years ago in my market, we went from, extremely low inventory, 20, 50 offers on every single property, waiving appraisal gaps, whatever, to, today we have 3.7x the amount of inventory. We went from, like things selling like crazy every day, like you put it on the market, bam, it was gone, now to the average day, being almost 80 days or more, sitting there listing and about a 70% success rate of, listing selling. So not everything's even, right. So the market's did a 180 in the last 12 months, in my market. Okay, well, my USPs that I had in 2020, 2021, and maybe even early 2022 are different than what I am doing today, because I'm pivoting and transitioning with the market. So again, the best ones are the ones that you can go out there and read the market based on your ideal clients for the market. Okay, so how do you decipher this? Okay, so the first thing is identifying who your ideal client is, for the given niche that you are within. So there's a lot of different ways, and a lot of different people talk about different niches, and so forth. And I get that, right? So you can niche down hardcore, right? But again, even with your niche, there's going to be different problems that they face at different times based on the marketplace, right? So whatever your niche is, then from there, within your given niche, really honing that into who your ideal client is for that given market, right? And let me just take a step back. You can have multiple different ideal clients. So with that being said, you potentially will have then multiple different unique selling propositions, a different one for each different ideal client. And I'll go through some examples of this so this will all make sense. So just bear with me here. So with this being said, okay, so and I'll just give my business as an example. So my niche, and my niche is more broad than probably others. Some people are really, hone into just, very laser focused niche. Mine is residential real estate, Maricopa County, so Phoenix Metro, residential real estate, and we really focus on that kind of median price point. So today it's kind of like residential real estate, Maricopa County, $1 million and under price point. So our average price point is about $500,000. Not that we don't list some luxury and so forth, but we're specializing in these specific suburbs throughout the valley. Where price points today average price points about $500,000, but it's residential real estate. Like that's our product. So that becomes our niche. That is our product. As far as my team and our focus goes there. So then from there, with whatever niche that you're in, you got to always be then asking yourself, this is how you identify who your ideal client is for that given market. Because I know you guys hear me say this all the time on this podcast, but you got to operate from this mindset of there. And there's not a lot of things that I say you must operate from, XYZ, right? There's usually most things, there's a lot of different variations, a lot of different options to go out there and create success. However, with this one though, I'm a really firm believer in this, right? That you must operate from the mental space of the mindset, the philosophy of there is no such thing as a good market or a bad market. The market is always good for somebody. So then we must then adapt and pivot based on identifying whom the current market is good for. So who's the current market good for? Right? Like who's buying, who's selling, what are they buying, what are they selling, why are they buying, why are they selling, where are they coming from, where are they going, right? Because real estate's always transacting, always has, always will, right? The only main differentiator, there's going to be different pockets of different things that are, maybe have different price points or different areas within your geographical location that might be hotter, at different times. That can differentiate based on the market. So I want to look at, okay, well, what's actually moving? What type of product, like from a geographical standpoint and a product standpoint, and then also within a price point standpoint, like what is moving, what is hot, what is transacting, what does that look like, right? And then from there, who is buying and selling it? Right. And that's been the biggest thing that shifted throughout my career is mainly the who, right? It's always been there's always been transactions happening. It's like, over my career, it's like focus in the same geographical location, same neighborhood, same zip codes, all that's been kind of the same constant. The main differentiator has been who's been buying or selling in any given market, whether that be traditional buyers and sellers, whether it be first-time buyers or, upper middle class or affluent, or whether that be short sales or REO or hedge funds, institutional investors. That's been the main difference between the changing markets is the who, right? So then I'm identifying that, then shows me then who my ideal client is for that market. So I'm looking at, okay, where's those opportunities? Who is my ideal client for that given market? Meaning, again, where's the opportunity at? Who's buying and who is selling? Like where the opportunity and or opportunities at, right? So then from there, once I know who that ideal client is, and again, you're going to more likely than not, you're going to have multiple different ideal clients. Right. So, you might have, okay, I got these, investors over here that the market's good for. Then I've got these traditional buyers over here that it's good for. Then maybe you have upsizers that it's good for. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, that's 3 different ideal clients. So I'm going to go through this process for each of them separately. All right. So then from there, once I identify who my ideal client is, then in order for me to identify, again, what that unique selling proposition is going to be, I'm going to identify what are their pain points, like what are their objections? What are their obstacles? These are people that, okay, they would buy or sell. They would transact in real estate today if it wasn't for whatever that thing is. right? Here's the roadblocks. Here's the challenges. Here's what I'm experiencing, right? Like I would go out there and buy today if it wasn't, do I want to buy today? There's more inventory on there. Prices are, in my market, $50,000 to $100,000 less. I want to buy today. Wish I could buy today, but interest rates, being so high now today, make it where it's unaffordable. Well, then bam, that's that pain point, right? So identifying, okay, what is blocking them from moving forward? Now, not always can you solve these problems, right? But then the ones that you can, this is where you go to the whiteboard, you start being proactive, putting the pieces together to go out there and solve those problems. That then becomes your USP, so then that way you can include that in your marketing, your messaging, and so forth to articulate that becomes your differentiator, right? So your unique selling proposition, your differentiator that differentiates you from anybody and everybody else. So let me just give you a couple examples, right? So 2020, 2021. One of my ideal clients throughout pretty much most of my career, outside of really the great financial crisis, because that was just so much REO and short sales and things were so distressed. But outside of that period of time, one of my favorite ideal clients has always been upsizers, like move up buyers. And not that everything with downside, something against downsizers. But, for me, it's just I've always registered, clicked with, like second time move up buyers, people that, bought their first house 5 to 7 years ago as a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot house. Now they're married. They've got 2 kids. They've outgrown that property. They've got good equity in that property, looking to sell that property and then go upsize to, let's just say, a 2,500 square foot, 4-bed, whatever. A lot of reasons that I love that client. I've always connected with them well. Marketing, my cost per acquisition is the same. So my marketing costs are no more, but I get 2 commissions out of it. It's 2 sales out of it. A lot of reasons why I've really loved that ideal client, and really focus on that ideal client throughout most of my career. So then all of a sudden though, in 2020, 2021, what became the problem? Okay, well, they got this house that they need to go out there and sell. They got tons of equity in this house now, but they need to sell it in order to go out there and upsize. Well, then in 2020 and 2021, what was going on with the markets? And this is important, you guys. I'm not just trying to story tell here. I'm walking you through strategy. So then that way you can kind of learn, how to go out there and do your own whiteboard sessions on this to figure this stuff out in your own business. I'm not here just to waste time and story tell, right? So this stuff is really important, right? So, then I'm like, okay, hey, they've got, house A, the house that they currently live in. They want to go out there and buy house B, the house that they want to move up to. Right. But the challenge is, even though they have the equity, like they could go out there, they qualify to buy, they got the equity to buy, all of that is our market got so insane. Every property is getting 50 plus offers, going 100 grand or so, above comps, having to waive appraisal contingencies. And because there was so much competition and cash offers and so forth, like it was an impossibility essentially, to go out there and get an offer accepted with a contingency. Because this particular client base in most cases, needs their home A to sell in order to buy home B. So there's a contingency there, right? It's the purchase of home B is contingent on home A selling. So then all of a sudden, okay, hey, these are people that wanted to go out there and sell and buy during that market climate. However, that was the roadblock. Hey, sellers won't accept a contingency. I'm equity rich, but I just don't have between the down payment, the appraisal gap to make all this work. Like I don't have the funds to pull this off, but I got 400 grand or 300 grand of equity in my house here, right? But nobody will accept this contingency, right? That was the roadblock. That was the problem I had to go out there and figure out and solve, right? For that clientele that then solved that problem for them, allowed that to be my unique selling proposition, my differentiator, and created a win-win, right? Differentiated me from everybody else, solve my clients' problems, I solve my problems, do a lot of business, we win, right? So I had to go out there and solve that problem. Okay, so then I'm looking at, okay, you got all these investors out here, institutional investors going out there and buying all this property. So I went out there and just had conversations with and met with the investors and figuring out what products they offer, how can we put this together, here's different problems that are going on and so forth, and found several different large investor clients that we do a lot of business with. One of the bigger ones, Zudilio is an example. That's one of the nationwide investors that have this program, in case you guys want to check into them. Okay, where they will come in, put an offer on home A. If that gets verbally accepted, they'll then allow my clients to go out there, pick out the house that they want, which is home B, right? Then once they find that house, the investor clients will come in, they'll buy home B for my clients on their behalf. So the investors buying the house, paying cash for it. We don't have the contingency. Bam, they bought home B, right? Then from there, once that closes, then we then close on the offer that the investors put on my clients on their current home, right? So then that home's closed, it's freed up that equity, and then now they sell them house B back, right? And all this is agreed upon up front. Now that whole process, like once, home B is closed, like this takes less than a week. Like, we have, created the process, have it all outlined. It's a seamless process, quick process, but then from there, man, my investors are winning, because they get a little bit of, obviously there's fees associated to this. There's a fee on each of those transactions that my investors are getting paid that my clients were having to pay, but boom, but they were obsolete otherwise. And they had plenty of equity to pull this off, right? So investor clients won, my clients won, I win, right? I'm going out there and serving my clients, getting the commission checks, and so forth. Now that's not something that we're doing today here in my market, because that was like a, kind of 2-year in and out in my market. Now, if you're in, I don't know, Midwest, Northeast, where your market's still extremely hot, multiple offers, okay, that might be, something that you want to, look into, and a possibility that became a unique selling proposition in that I had a vehicle, I had a tool to go out there and solve this problem that upsizers in my market was having that others didn't have, right? So that's your differentiator, that's your unique selling proposition, or was mine, right? That, becomes a part of all my messaging, all my marketing, all my communications, all of that stuff, right? That is me articulating that, hey, I can get you from where you're at to where it is that we want to go, right? Remember, again, whoever can articulate that they're the best guide to get them from where they're currently at to where it is that they want to go in the highest and best level wins, right? So that's one example. Okay, well, then we fast forward to today. Our market's done a 180, so I'm focused on buyers now today. Not that we're not still focused on upsizers and so forth. Like I just talked about, it's also, one of the best markets that we've seen since about 2013. Declining markets are best for upsizers, but upsizers, like, we can serve them and support them today, but they don't have necessarily the same problems and same issues. Now, but buyers and also upsizers, they kind of share the same issue now here today. So in my market, it's like, okay, prices are down. It's like the same house that they wanted to buy, they could get today for $100,000 less. There's, almost 4 times the amount of inventory. So they don't have to settle for location. They know how to have to settle for amenities, anything in that property. They will go out there and find the exact property they want, dream home, whatever. Sellers are willing to go out there and negotiate repairs, and they're getting the house for $50,000 to $100,000 less. So like on all data points, it's like, okay, it's a much better time to buy than we've seen in 3+ years in my market, or upsides, best time upsides that we've seen in over a decade, right? However, what's that obstacle? What's that block? Is interest rates. Okay, well, we got to go out there and solve that problem. Right? Like, okay, if you didn't see the video I actually created yesterday about what's going on with mortgage rates, our mortgage rate's going to go up to 8%, so forth. I'm not sitting here saying mortgage rates are going up to 8%. That video was just a deep dive education on how mortgages are actually set, how that system works, and, so forth, because I find that a lot aren't aware of that in our industry, but I can't just sit and hope and pray that interest rates are going to go down. Right. There's as high of a probability that they're not going to go down as there is that there is going to go down. Right. So, with that being said, I'm going to be proactive with trying to figure out ways to go out there and solve this problem. Okay. Well, then from there, it's like, okay, so I identify that problem, go to the whiteboard. I start working with my lender partners. What are the loan products that you have to offer? Okay, well, most of my clientele, my ideal clients that I work with, are doing 20% down conventional loans. What are the options? How can we get them to get this affordable rate again? How can we get these rate buy downs? What can we do? Okay, well, then we find out you can get a 9% seller concession, is a 20% down conventional buyer. Okay, if we can use 2 to 3% of that for closing costs, like it's 5 to 6% for a rate buy down. Okay, well then boom, now we've got them where not only are they able to find the property that they want in the location that they want, the amenities that they want, they're able to get it for $50,000 to $100,000 less. We can also get that significant big rate buy down that the seller pays for, that we negotiate for the seller to pay for, so then we get their payments also more affordable than they were. Now, the interest rates still aren't lower than they were, in 2021 or 2020, but their monthly payment is lower, or might even be, close to matching or lower, but it's still, extremely affordable at this time, and the best time that we've seen on all fronts in 3+ years, for them. Okay, well, then from there, that becomes, because what are people's narrative right now? Like they're listening to the news or whatever. It's all the, economy's hard, interest rates have gotten so high, it makes it unaffordable. Okay, well, we got to communicate something differently. It's like, okay, so these are people that want to buy or want to upsize. They would do it right now if interest rates were the same as they were a couple of years ago, right? Like, and what they're just telling you is, I just need my monthly payments less. Like, they're too unaffordable right now. Okay, if we can solve that problem and then we can communicate that problem to them, that then becomes our USP, our unique selling proposition for that given time. Now, here's why I'm walking you through this different strategy of how to go out there and solve those problems and come up with unique selling propositions. Because look, dude, tomorrow might be different. Tomorrow could be totally different. Like in my market, I was just studying some charts and graphs and looking at the percentages of, institutional investors that purchase properties over the last couple of years, and the percentages that are owned in these specific zip codes, and as these institutional investors start getting pressure from their shareholders to start liquidating some of these assets, like what's that going to, like, look, dude, there's so many unknowns. My unique selling propositions 2 months, 3 months, 6 months from now from today might be massively different, but that's okay, because I'm able to now read the markets and understand this process, so I could shift my unique selling propositions at any given time based on the biggest pain points, that the biggest obstacles, the biggest objections, the biggest pain points that my ideal client is experiencing at that given time. And these are the most effective ways, that I've found to go out there and create unique selling propositions, but then from there, you can't just have them. Right. Like, you got to go out there and communicate them. Right. So make sure that you got to shout this out to the world, right. So, going out there, if it's the best time that you've seen a buy in your market in 3+ years, right. Making sure that you have verbiage in there and how you have ways to solve that interest rate, how you're able to get your clients, below 5% interest rates today, whatever that may be, right? Go out there and make sure that that's in your marketing, your prospecting, your messaging, your follow-up messaging, all of your conversations with your sphere of influence, with everybody, right? You're just got to articulate, like you got these USPs, unique selling propositions. You got to let the world know that you've got them out there, to help them solve those pain points and those problems. So anyway, I hope that you found this helpful. If you have any questions, drop those in at least if you're watching this on YouTube. Unfortunately, there's not a way for us to communicate if you're listening to this in audio, but if you're watching this on YouTube, if you have any comments or questions on this, I check those comments, usually daily, but several times a week, worst case. So, but usually daily, Monday through Friday. So, and I try to do my best to respond to all those comments. So if you have questions on this, whatever, just comment below. But anyway, I truly appreciate you guys being here. Keep up the amazing work. Keep crushing it. Keep kicking ass. I will see you next time. Peace.